A warm welcome to all the parents who are online with us this evening. I'm Madam Le, Principal of Nanyang Primary School. With us today are Ms. Jacin Liu, Parenting Coach and Mother of Two, and Ms. Michelle Ng, Senior Educational Psychologist from Special Education Needs Division. Parents, we know transitioning from preschool to primary school is a significant milestone for all our children. It involves one of the largest and I believe most important changes children have to encounter and manage at that age. So we can fully understand the anxiety and excitement that both you and your child are experiencing now in preparing for this. As parents, you would definitely want to best prepare your child for it. And we know that a smooth transition can help to ease the anxiety of your children, and I believe for yourself as well. We hope that through today's session, you will be able to pick up some useful tips on how to better prepare your child for primary one. Before we invite our two panelists to do a self-introduction and maybe share a little bit about their thoughts for helping our children transit to primary one, I would like to share some ground rules for this session. There are two key ground rules, and this is the teacher in me coming forward. The first ground rule is please stay on topic. We seek your understanding that the panel will not be answering questions that fall outside of the discussion, even if the question is very well liked. For this session, we want to know how to better prepare our children for P1. And I believe one of the best way to prepare them is to role model. That brings me to the second ground rule, and that is be respectful. Ask and comment politely, keeping in mind others' perspective and feelings. Let's role model respect and politeness for our children. Let's begin with Jacin.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacinthe. I'm a parenting coach, an ex-secondary school teacher, and a mother of two. I used to teach students mathematics and science, and now I founded Our Little Play Nest and Our Little Play Academy, where I empower parents with research-backed positive parenting strategies so that they can communicate effectively and connect meaningfully with their children. I have two kids. My oldest is 7, my youngest is 5. So my boy has just gone through a year. He has completed 1 year of primary one. And I know exactly how you guys are feeling because I'm, in that position exactly 1 year ago. And I know it's really, very, very anxious. You might feel very anxious. And at the same time, you feel very proud of your child really growing up and going to formal school. So I hope that with this experience that I have quite fresh in my mind, I hope to give you some insights. And one thing I truly believe is to build that trust between you and your kids. So in order to prepare them for a smoother transition, although you are very anxious inside you, but you still got to trust them. And when you build that strong relationship, there'll be an open channel of communication and they'll be telling you what they experience and you can, work through it together, you and your child.
Thank you, Jacin. Michelle, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm an educational psychologist from MOE. I support children with special needs or additional needs in the mainstream schools. I'm also a mother of 3 children, ages 6, 8, and 11. And they are all school going for the 2 of them. And I've got one coming in primary 1 next year. So as I'm speaking with you right now, I'm actually preparing my child through all the transition activities or going through some of the prep videos so that I can help him prepare for primary 1 better. I will be sharing from my experience as an a psychologist and a mother, and I hope that some of these tips can actually help you help your child transition better to school. And change can be daunting for everyone, even adults. To prepare for this session, we also have to make adjustments. So I think with our little children, this experience of going to primary one is very important, and it can be very significant. With a bit of help from you, he or she can be better prepared for school. Yeah,
Thank you, Michelle.
thank you.
We have a first question actually coming in from Joanne Chia. Her question is my child required to know how to read and write well for P1? If she cannot, will she fall very behind? So that's a question from Joanne Chia. Maybe Jacine can share a little bit in this area. How do you feel? Do you think that, when your son was enrolling into P1, is it necessary to prepare your son well in terms of reading and writing?
After going through primary one, I realized that the curriculum and the work that they cover are very fundamental, like what they have done in K2. So my son will tell me, oh, I've already done this in K2. So I feel that schools, they know that the P1 kids are adjusting. It's a big leap to, be in a classroom of 30 with 30 other kids, as well as, the long school hours. So schools are prioritizing the social and emotional development as far as I can see. And I think we all, as educators, we know that when the kids are able to manage their emotions well, know how to interact with others, all the academic learning will fall in place. So I don't feel like there is a need for the kids to read and write very well, because this is a learning journey. The kids are coming to school to learn. They can't be learning at home, knowing how to read and write. Then what's the point of coming to school? But having said that, I think it's important to encourage your kids to read, basic phonics or even basic sight words that will give him or her some kind of confidence as well. But even if the child is not very good at reading or writing, I believe the teachers will know what to do. There are programs in schools to support children, and they have basically a whole year to adjust for the academic part. But I think we want to prioritize the social and emotional part to set as the foundation for them to learn more, higher order cognitive skills.
Michelle, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Social emotional is actually very important. Being able to communicate your needs and request for help. These are all very important skills. There are also school readiness skills like how to take instruction, taking your things out from the bag, following class routines. Those are much more important than the literacy or the numeracy skills for a start. Yeah. And all this they're supposed to pick up at P1. And like what Jacine mentioned, some of it are already covered in the kindergarten stage. So don't worry too much, Joanne. Yeah, going to school, they will start all this from with them, and with a bit of confidence and some reading skills, like what Jacine mentioned, those will help your child a long way. Yeah, good start.
Yes. And just to point out also, just to share a little bit, I think we also want to be mindful not to over prepare our children before they enter into P1, because that can lead to boredom or even kill the joy of learning for our P1s. So again, I think it's important that we don't over prepare them. Let them take their pace. The teachers are there to support them, so don't have to worry too much. But again, keep in touch with the teachers. If you have any concerns, please just give the teachers a ring or just email them. And teachers now, some of them use Dojo as well, the class Dojo. So feel free to contact the teachers if you have any concern along the way. We have another question here from Michelle Ng. Should I be concerned if my child reads the same books over and over again? Will this affect language development, progress at school? So this is a question from Michelle Ng. So Michelle, so it's the same Michelle Ng. So Michelle, would you want to answer the question?
Okay, I think it's important to introduce your children to a variety of books, and it's all right. I think start with a child's interest. So if a child is interested in a particular genre or theme, like my son, he loves anything with war, tanks, soldiers. So I'll go with those topics first, and rather than introducing something else like let's get into some classics or like Roald Dahl books, he may not be very interested in those. So I'll go with the war team, soldiers team, and then I'll develop his interest from there, and build up the language through reading. I think that's the most perfect way to build your language development through reading variety of books, and model reading to your child as well. Because when they see the parent reading, they'll also take on the cue and they'll also read on their own. And I think that itself should suffice. Justine, you want to weigh in? Anything else you'd like to share with the parent?
I think it's quite common for children to read the same book over and over again. And even they do so, they're actually picking up new things along the way, right? It's like when we read a second time, oh, we realize that this particular phrase that you've learned. So I don't think it's like a big problem, but like what Michelle said, bring them to the library, let them see that there are many other kinds of books available and just borrow a few. So for my son, he's very into fantasy, like the dragons and that kind of stories. So I brought him to the library to see for himself that there are actually many other genres. So we just picked one, and he said, "Mommy, I actually like this." So I said, "Yeah, you see, there are a lot of other books, so you can try to read more, and you will learn more as well." Yeah.
As a Chinese language teacher myself, I would want to say also encourage your child to read books, mother tongue languages. Please do. Mother tongue language is very, very important. So,
Yes.
parents, when you go to the library, don't just pick English language books. Please also pick a few mother tongue languages that will help your child as well. Get them to love mother tongue language. That's coming from a mother tongue language teacher here. Okay, there are some more questions from Michelle Ng. Michelle posed another question. Should I be concerned if my child reads? The next question. How do we know whether our children are progressing well or ready for the next level if there are no exams to help pace them? Okay, if there are no exams to help pace them. This is a question from Michelle. Maybe Jason would like to share your views regarding this. When your child have already experienced 1 year in the school, your thoughts about this?
So now I'm speaking from a teacher point of view. Actually, examinations are not to grade our children. They are for us to find out their learning gaps. So don't think of that score as something that determines my child's ability. So I'll share with you guys, for example, when my child comes back with spelling, and instead of asking him, pointing out the mistakes that he did, I will actually look at the ones that he gets correct. So like for Chinese spelling, I will say, wow, you got all correct. And I don't even talk about that mistake. And as I'm just flipping through, I will see, oh, what do you learn from this? So I want you guys to think of like assessment as an opportunity for the kids to learn. I actually tell my kids, if you make a mistake, you learn more than those who got perfect score. Because when you make a mistake, you are actually learning more. You learn what went wrong and how to improve. So don't have to worry that, oh, there are no exams and I don't know if they're progressing well, because the teachers are very experienced. They have seen so many students and they know that if this child does need help, they will definitely reach out to you. So trust the teachers, trust your kids, and you can actually keep this, like I mentioned, an open channel of communication, so you can hear from your child how he or she feels about learning in school. Does he or she enjoy himself, or are there certain things that are too difficult? So these are cues that you pick up. Again, they're all learning opportunities to help your kids know what area to work on, how to improve. And yeah, so don't feel like they have to be graded at every stage. That's what I personally think.
And
Yes.
assessments is actually also, the teachers will also assess from time to time their topics after they finish the topics, but it's not in the form of a formal assessment. So when you bring back the worksheets, they'll ask parents for signature, they'll ask you to read through their work. So whatever they've done in school, you will see whether they have learned or not. And I really love how you use that positive side, Justine, to look at your child's work. And then you point and look where the mistakes occur and whether these are careless mistakes or genuine mistakes. If they're genuine mistakes, then there are some correction required to understand the concept better. And you can find out from the teachers how you can actually help your child better in that particular area. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Michelle
I want
has
to
right. Go ahead, Jacinth.
I want to emphasize this fact to normalize mistakes. It's okay
Yes.
to make mistakes. It's okay for your kids not to do well. Yeah, don't think that they need to do well. Don't compare them with other students. When they return with their script, you don't ask them how much did your friends score. You want to focus on your child, focus on the good of your child, what he did well, his efforts, and that will spur the child on to do better. If you are focusing on the negative side and all the bad that he's doing, he has no motivation to want to do well. So I really want to bring this up to everyone, that don't panic if your kids didn't get full marks. Don't worry about that. It's a learning process.
Jacinth has rightfully pointed out, that's the first step, positive reinforcement in order to grow that joy for learning. I think that's very, very important. So as adults, I think although you may be anxious, but your child will take it from you. So try to calm down and everything is fine. And your child will be able to understand and will take it from you that mistakes are okay because they are in the process of learning. And Michelle has also rightfully pointed out that there are small little bite-sized tests along the way. It's not a weighted assessment, it's not a formal exam, but that those little bite-sized tests will give us some feedback about the child's learning as well. So those are some of the things that the teachers will also share with you. And when the teachers notice that the child needs additional support, please be assured that the teachers will be contacting you and will share their feedback with you as well. There are some more questions. There is a question from Rebecca. What should I do if my child writes alphabets in mirror image? Is it a concern when he starts primary 1? Writing alphabets in mirror image. Maybe Michelle,
Yeah.
you would like to share your
Okay.
thoughts? Yep.
As an emerging writer or first time learner, children will start off and they may make such common errors like writing in mirror. My son, when he first started, he could mirror his entire name. And then, but that's fine because after a while, when he picks up and he understands the whole idea, he can actually follow the concept of print from left to right and he can understand. So there are also some like tips like, the B, the D, and the P's, and I don't know whether you see it, and the Q. Yeah, so these are the
Yeah.
common reversals that happen. So you can actually teach your child to remember B with your left, D, P, Q. Just some examples. And then as they familiarize with print, they get better and they also improve on all their writing and recognition of the letter and the orientation.
Okay, some parents are wondering, how do I help my shy or reserved child make friends and build social skills? Maybe Jacinth or Michelle? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for kids who take a while to adapt, we want to first acknowledge that it is really difficult for them. So avoid saying things like, it's not scary, you can just go and talk to your friends. Because the truth is, it's not easy for them at all. And we want to put themselves in their shoes. So with that, what we can do firstly is to acknowledge the child for feeling really afraid. You can tell the child that I understand it's really difficult. Okay, there are so many friends out there, you don't know them, you don't know how to reach out to them. And you can even share your own personal experiences. When mommy was in primary 1, I was very scared. I don't know who to talk to. There were so many people. So let them feel more assured that they are not the only ones experiencing this. But yet at the same time, you want to guide them and build these social skills in them. Maybe you can give them the words to use like introduce themselves or ask, can I borrow the eraser, please? Little phrases like that to give them that confidence, to do some pretend play at home. You can tell your kids, hey, today I'm going to be your classmate. What can you say to me? Yeah, but don't force the child if they're not ready. I feel that as time goes by, some kids are just, they prefer to watch first. So they watch, when they feel ready, then they will join in. So it doesn't mean that they will never do it, but they just need a little bit more time. And I will believe that, the teachers in schools, they have many programs. I think there's one PAL, program for active learning, where they teach them social skills, growth mindset. Even my son came back and tell me, Mama, I know my love language. Then I asked him, how did you know your love language? Then we do in PAL. So my love language is physical touch. Then I say, yeah, I know. Because, he loves his hugs and all. So I believe that the school, the P1 program, in fact, after going through, when I look at his work, I notice a huge emphasis on building that social emotional development. Very little on academics, very little homework. And I'm assured that there's a going in the right direction for the kids, because once they are able to manage their social relationships with others, they're able to communicate, they can manage their emotions. Then once this part is settled, then they are ready to learn, ready to absorb new knowledge, and ready to step out of their comfort zone and try. Yeah.
Also,
There's
to add
another
on,
question. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
continue,
To
Michelle.
add on
Go ahead.
also, play behavior is actually very important. So, encouraging your child to role play, pretend play, to play with figures, those actually develop our social skills and also provide authentic experiences. Playground time, it's a must for my kids. They will request to go down almost every day for 1 to 2 hours. It's important because that's where they learn how to interact, how to initiate play. They also learn to resolve conflicts. So I really encourage that kind of experience. And when they have trouble, I'm actually the parent there at the playground and I know the neighborhood children. So I try to guide and facilitate. So I don't hover around my child to say, oh, say this now, say that now. But if they come to me with some challenges or I notice that they're at the side, then I will just go forward to them and say, ask them to the side and say, what can you do? How can you actually initiate the conversation, or how can you resolve that conflict? And then I ask them for ideas, and sometimes I also help to elicit the perspective from the other person so that your child will know. And with shy children, I try to just pick 1 or 2 small group and start small. So I believe like play in this to prepare your child for the P1 experience is good. To start small, gather his kindergarten or her kindergarten friends for play dates. You can get started there, and then you will notice like which areas your child need help in. So your child doesn't start from ground zero. There must be some place, start at the point or level that your child is at. Yeah.
There's another question. How do I prepare my child from school bullying? For example, how does the child know if they are being bullied in school and when to reach out to teachers for help? This is from Katie Leong. Maybe Michelle, you would like to?
Okay. All right. So school bullying, it really depends on what situations and when it happens. So I think the first point of contact, and first you need to know who the teacher is. So you need to make sure you know who the teacher is, and when it happens, you can approach the teacher for support. When you say bullying, I would really ask the child, what actually happened, what constitutes bullying, verbal bullying, physical bullying, what happened exactly. So I'll find out from the child. To prepare my child, I would talk about good touch, bad touch, a push and a shove, and sometimes books. I love books. I have like books on like literature. It can be just really focusing on bullying, or it could be just empathy books. And I really love those storylines like Walk in My Shoes or something like that. So they will also talk about situations when children are being bullied. You can use stories like this or social stories, how to even stand up for yourself or stand up for a friend. And I think that's very critical. I love books for that matter. You can teach a lot of things through books. Yeah. So we can try that. Yeah. And for Katie, first line of contact is the teacher. Reach. Nothing is too big, too small. So when you say, how do you know and when can you reach? Just reach out to a teacher, explain your anxiety and concerns. My child had situations in kindergarten. I also approached the teacher at first point just to clarify matters. And then I seek a solution as well. And things were sorted out and resolved in the end. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, it's important to reach out to the teachers. And it's not just the teachers who will be supporting you. There's a whole team. We call it the student development team. We have the assistant year heads and counselors are all coming in to help as well. When in doubt, just ask us and we'll share our thoughts with you and we'll communicate. I think that's very important while we partner one another in order to help our children. There's another question from Elaine York. Do our kids need to know how to count money before P1, purchase of food during recess, etc.? This is from Elaine. Maybe Jacinthe can share?
It will be good if your kids have experience with handling money. So what I did was to let my kids see the real money. So when you do pretend play with your children, use the real ones. Don't use the toy coins. So they can see for themselves, how much it is, and getting them to practice purchasing food maybe from at the food court. So maybe this month, don't go to the restaurants too often. Go to the food court where the kids can see, what they want to order. They can actually order it on their own. And one thing that one of my mommy friends shared with me, there was this girl, she was in the canteen and she wanted to buy, I think, a food for 50 cents. But she didn't buy. She came home and tell her mom that she don't have 50 cents. She only has $1 because she has a $1 coin. And she didn't know that $1 is made out of 2 50 cents. So you might want to teach your kids a different permutation in, handling the money. And this will be an important skill for them. But I also know of the school canteen sellers. They are very, very kind to the primary 1 kids. So if the kids give the wrong amount, the auntie will just return it and teach them along the way. So try your best to guide them along. If not, the canteen sellers will help. There'll be teachers when they're purchasing food as well. And also, I think it's important, and the math teachers will teach them how to count money, because
Yes.
that is also inside the math curriculum. Yeah, so not to worry about that.
Michelle, would you like to
Yeah,
share
so
any? Yeah.
don't worry if the money skills. I think that's definitely very, very important, I feel. And I think what your child also need to role play is also to learn how to take his own tray, take his own food, because in the canteen they'll start off by picking your own food and the bowl can be quite daunting. So practice all this at home. If you're serving a meal, practice this at home. Have him serve the meal, use the utensils and all that, get them ready. I think one thing from the teachers, they say recess time, eating at the table. So these are the things you need to practice, practice with them eating at a table within a time space. Recess is about 30 minutes. So help them to finish the food in 30 minutes. And also they have to learn to wipe down as well. So I think recess activity is something that they need to just practice and learn. But don't worry, remember what I said, meet your child wherever he's at. If money skills, he still can't figure, because 10 cents, 20 cents is counting by 10. It's not like your dollars, your notes. Notes are a lot easier to handle compared to coins. But after a while, if they learn the denomination and familiarize with it, it doesn't help that everything is e-transact now, but have them practice. So I'll give my child money to go buy bread sometimes at the supermarket, and then he'll have to learn to transact how much exactly, and then get some change back. If he still can't figure the change, it's okay, because people are really kind to the P1s and they will help them out. Yeah.
Yes, I think both Michelle and Jacinthe has pointed out, besides counting the money itself, there are other skills that are necessary in the canteen. I think Michelle pointed out wipe down. Because of safe management measures, the children will have to learn how to wipe down after their meals. So parents, you can try that at home. Let them learn how to wipe down. Besides that, children will be wearing their mask. So during recess, they will need to remove their mask and place it somewhere safe so that it doesn't drop on the floor. So the removal and the putting up back the mask again, these are important skills as well that parents, you might want to practice at home. Some more question. Some parents are wondering if they should be concerned if their child are having issues concentrating at certain tasks, like writing or remembering instructions, for example. what can parents do at home to help our children?
I can take that.
Yep, sure.
So,
Michelle?
with focus, actually, it's important that the child learns to actually focus on a task for at least 10 to 15 minutes. So at home, you can actually practice giving him something at his level. So it shouldn't be too challenging. It can be just a copying task or a simple page from his K2 kind of material, just something to help him familiarize with sitting at a desk, focusing on something, or it can even be focusing on doing a puzzle, anything like that. So when children have activities that help them focus, they practice doing that. They are less likely to be dependent on someone telling them what they should be doing at that moment. Because in school, actually, the instructions are very clear. Teachers will say, okay, let's do this, and they'll prime them into the activity. And also, if you're worried about instructions, don't worry, because P1, I was also a primary one teacher. We would actually write down the instructions for the children stepwise if there is something too long, and the teachers won't rattle on like 10 or 3 instructions at one go. Usually it's a 1-step or 2-step instruction with some guiding words on the board, so your child be able to follow. So yeah, and instruction taking you can also practice with your child at home, like instruct your child to fetch something from the table or from the kitchen, or do something. You can start with a 1-step instruction first, and then you add on with a 2-step instruction. So I think for practice at home, parents just make it authentic. Whatever you experience with a child at home, infuse some of these elements, like focusing on something, so that he's not too distracted like by the TV and all that. So things have to be on task. This is what you need to do first, then followed by the second activity, and then we'll finish off. So they will get used to routines like this. So prep your child in this way if you can. Yeah.
Jacinth,
Yeah, I
do you have
think
any?
with kids who have problem sitting down, actually is a bit counterintuitive, but you got to get them to move in order for them to sit. They need to go to the
Yes.
playground, they need to run, they need to jump, they need to exercise to develop that part of the brain. I think it's called the cerebellum, where it creates this like balance for the body to be able to see it, to work on their proprioceptive so that they can actually focus on writing and even reading. So we tend to neglect that part. We think that, oh, my kids are moving, something is wrong, he cannot sit still. But the truth is the kids need to move so that when they feel balanced, they can come back to read and write. So of course, in a classroom, you might be thinking, how are the kids going to move, right? They are kind of forced to sit where they are. I think we all agree that this is a challenge because it's just one teacher, and that's the reason why the kids cannot be running around. If not, there'll be chaos, and it's not beneficial for the children anyway. So I believe that the teachers have assigned breaks for the kids as well. Like they go for recess, they go for snack break, or they get the kids to move, to carry their books. So little movement activities that the teachers can do within their control, the teachers will do them. But at home, please do not force your kids to sit down and write for like half an hour, because even as adults, I don't even think we can sit down for half an hour. So it's not realistic to expect that of your kids. Yeah, and they are so young. So definitely give them a lot of movement activities, movement breaks. And I wanted to add on to the copying work. So it is true that the kids have to copy down assignments into their communication book. So which means they need to have that skill of looking up at the board and looking back down on their notebook and write. So this is something you can work on at home. I'm not asking you to buy a whiteboard and start teaching your kids at home, but you can do normal activities like, oh, we are going to the supermarket. Okay, so these are the things that we want to purchase. Can you copy down on a piece of paper and we'll bring it there? Or if you are doing some baking, there's a recipe on the computer. Can you copy down the ingredients that we need or the steps? Beat 2 eggs, pour 100 milliliters of milk. So these are actually copying work that your kids are practicing with you, bonding with you and having fun, but at the same time, honing their visual motor skills.
If I can add on to Jacinth,
Sure.
before seat work, if I forgot, before seat work, you can actually get your child to prepare himself. So if he's going to school in the morning and he's not in alert state, get him to, like, if your school is near enough, just take a walk instead of driving you there. If not, you can even like, if he's in a sluggish state, you want to get him to alert. So that's one of the things. Before the seat work itself, there are some things I learned from the OT. You can actually do some of the stretches, like tiger claw, mosquito squish, and you can even do like some, adjusting yourself on the seat, like a bit of a chair lift, kind of, not really chair lift, but I don't know what you call it. Yeah, lift on your chair. So that these kind of feet will feed the system and help them to actually make them more alert and more ready for the seat work itself. So yeah. And then of course there are movement breaks that Justin mentioned just now that teacher will give the children, because they're all very young, so they'll move from activity to activity as well. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a question from Sharon Paul Nathan. My child have ASD. Does the teacher help the children with ASD? Maybe Michelle can take this question. Yeah.
Okay. Mainstream primary schools are equipped to manage children with mild to moderate needs. So children with mild needs, with mild autism, the teachers will have some form of understanding. There's also a team that just now Madam Le mentioned, allied educator, learning and behavioral support, who are like special needs officers who will actually help to support the teachers to help your child manage in school. So if a child has specific needs in social communication, that'll be one area that the ADLBS can actually help the teacher in the initial stages, and ultimately the teacher will then learn to also help support the child within the classroom itself. So, but I think what is important is that you provide this information to the teacher, work with the teacher. I believe you have done the ISDR, the declaration. Follow up with whatever information you have, whether it's from the pediatrician or from the therapist or psychologist. Give them whatever information you have. If it's currently supported in the kindergarten or by the therapist or the psychologist, provide all this information so that the teachers will know how to work on and how to support the child better within the school limits. So start where the child is, provide information and work closely with the teacher. We also want to share the strengths and the things your child is good at doing. So we will also start off at that level. Yeah. So I hope that
I think
answers your
Michelle has
question, Sharon. Yes.
Yeah. I think Michelle has pointed out one important point, and that is to contact the school, share your concerns and the needs of your child with the school as early as you can, so that we can quickly activate our team to come in to support your child. I think that's very important. There's another question. Is there still buddy system now? This is a question from Ninki Lim. Is there still buddy system now? At this point in time, because of SMM, we do not have a buddy system, but we are still observing the situation and how it evolves. If we can, of course, I'm quite sure we will bring in buddy system. For example, my school will try to bring in, but again, safety for our children comes first. So we are still watching how the whole situation, COVID-19 evolves. There's another question. Some parents are wondering if there will be help in schools if children are not able to handle themselves, are not toilet trained. There are some parents with this question. Maybe Jacinth, you'd like to share your experience in this area?
I believe that the teachers in school definitely have experience over their years of teaching that there are students who are still learning. So if you feel that your kids need extra help, like what Madam Le and Michelle said, reach out to the teachers and communicate with the teachers to get help. In this case, the teachers might actually assign a buddy or let the kids have a little bit more time. But at the same time, I think for what as parents we can do here is to, again, acknowledge the kids that can be quite scary for them to tell the teacher that I want to go to the toilet. Yeah, so maybe some pretend play at home might help. Or in any case, perhaps this is also shared with me by another parent. So she actually gave her child an emergency underwear. So you kind of like put it in the bag so that in any case, it won't create a trauma in the child when, there are any mishaps or like he's not able to get to the toilet in time. I think other than the fact that they are not trained at the toilet, it's also that social emotional part behind them, like maybe they feel embarrassed that their friends are looking at them, or they feel very they're very shocked or very anxious. They don't know what to do. So these are feelings that, again, they are normal. We want to accept the feelings and at the same time guide our children along the way. Like I said, do pretend play, communicate with the teachers, let the teachers know. Maybe if the kid needs to go to the toilet, the teacher can give him a card, a special card that's maybe red in color. So if he needs the toilet, he just raise up that red card. The teacher can just nod the head and he can go to the toilet, something like that. You can work out a system, with the students to get them to go to the toilet. So definitely let the teachers know. They will be there to help.
If I can add on, now to prepare your child for toileting needs, right? Children who go to childcare, they are a lot more prepared usually. They're more independent. Children who actually attend regular kindergarten, they may still have the assistance of the kindergarten teacher. That's at least from my understanding from my children's experience. So at home, what I do is actually I still train them because I know different family got different practice. There's washing down and all that. And if there's no bidet in the toilet, it may be quite messy as well. So you can actually use a simple visual like this. I don't know whether you can see. I pulled this out because I was training my child to wipe down, clean. So sorry, very crude, but then it's really a simple visual with steps to actually share with your child. Teach your child stepwise, depending on where a child is at. If he knows how to pull down, if she knows how to pull down her pants already, how to sit on a toilet bowl, you can move on to, okay, what do you do with the toilet paper? How many squares do you tear out? And then how do you fold and how do you clean yourself? And it's really, I wipe until I'm clean. Okay, and then learn to flush and learn to wash your hands thereafter. So you can work on these steps at home, but don't worry if you are not quite there yet by the time he starts school. You could always let the teacher know and see whether such a visual can be left in the toilet so that in a particular cubicle, I mean, you don't have to do it for all cubicle, and see whether that kind of accommodation is feasible. You can speak to the teacher about it. And then at least for a visual reminder, your child has something like that in the toilet in school. But that's just an example. But if your child can pick up, he won't need this visual reminder anymore. So my child has picked up, I can just take it away. Yeah, that's not an issue anymore. Yeah. So just an example.
Yeah, and parents, please be assured, we know accidents can happen. If it does
Yes.
happen, don't worry. In the general office, for example, in my school, we have uniforms of all sizes, so not to worry. Okay, so there's another question. How many hours of sleep does a P1 child need? This is from Jamie Tan. How many hours of sleep does a P1 child need? Either Michelle or
I would
Jacinth?
think like at least 10 hours for me. I'm a huge advocate of getting kids to sleep early and get enough rest,
Yes.
because if not, all the behavioral issues will just start coming up.
Cranky.
So sleep early and at least 10 hours in my opinion.
Yeah. The professional advice is 9 to 11 hours for a primary school going child. And I think it's important to start the practice of a sleep routine and getting to bed earlier, because now at primary one, they have to wake up earlier. It's unlike your kindergarten age where they wake up at and go to school by 8. This is a lot earlier now. So count back how many hours your child will need and start that routine earlier so your child is better prepared for bed. Wind down, no more gadgets, no more TV, no more screen, after like say an hour or two before bedtime. So that's critical. Make sure your child gets enough sleep. I agree with Jacinth, without sleep, your child can be very cranky. It's a cause for many of the behavioral difficulties in school. We always check back how many hours is the child getting. And a lot of times you'll notice that the sleep hygiene is quite poor. So encourage that, start early. I really love parents who can encourage a child to go to bed at 8 lah. I can't. I try, but I can't. Yeah, but if possible, have your routine way before so that they can have half an hour storybook reading, bedtime routine before he gets to bed. Yeah.
Yes, I think for primary school, the children need to wake up much earlier, especially children who are taking the school bus. It is even earlier. So it's important to have enough sleep. And we also know lessons are longer. The school hours are longer. It starts from 7:30 and ends at 1:30. So it can be very tiring for the children. In school, we do observe children by about 9:30, 10. They'll be very, very tired. So it takes time to grow the habit and to grow the morning routines as well. So it's a good time to start now, parents. Some questions, some parents are wondering if their child has selective mutism and how can parents help them to adjust. So it's about selective mutism. Michelle?
Okay, so selective mutism is actually a form of anxiety. So you must first understand why the child is anxious. And then I love what Justine mentioned, acknowledge and accept the emotions and the feelings. After you're able to do that, you can then explore why and then learn how to support your child. Just an example for myself, my child is quite anxious. So my eldest, before she entered primary one, she was very anxious and all the behaviors start to emerge. She was showing school reviews of behaviors. She was also refusing clothes, uniform and all that. And so her response to anxiety was to run. Yeah. And I think that's why it's important to help prepare her. If the child has a history of selective mutism, how does she actually feel anxious and what makes her anxious or what makes him anxious? Be sensitive and loving and respond in that manner. And first of all, I think what was a breakthrough for me was really when I acknowledged and said, okay, I know you felt that you feel that way, you feel worried about going to school, and I can fully understand it. It was quite a big step for me because I didn't see that coming as a psychologist. But when I'm able to accept the emotion and hold space for her, I could see that we were both able to take baby steps to move on. But that was not all because in the first 3 months leading into school and going to school to 6 months, it was quite a lot of struggle, a lot of managing and checking in with therapists what can be done. So if a child is actually seeing somebody, a psychologist, or somebody, share with the school, like things that work, whatever that they've been teaching your child to do. Are they regulation techniques, breathing strategies? Some of these things will go a long way. If they've been taught how to breathe, share with the teacher that she needs some of this regular breathing in classroom. That can help. So again, like I said, work with the school and so that the teachers can help and the ADLBS can actually support the child better. With anxiety, it's less obvious unless your child has the behavioral show, like meltdown, cry, and get upset. But most of the time, they are a bit more inward, and they don't show those emotions in school. They may show it at home. So I think you really need to give that space to embrace the emotions, those big feelings, and teach her how to cope, or him how to cope with these big feelings. Breathing techniques regularly with a child is actually very helpful for little children. It can be things like smell flower, blow candle, and smell flower through the nose, blow the candle out. It can be the figure eight breathing. It can also be like lying on the floor. In school, you can't lie, but then at home, you can do that because the shoulders are less likely to shrug. Put something on the belly and then see the teddy bear go up and down. Make it a game with the child, and help the child to feel that you are embracing and supporting your child. And then work closely with the school to minimize whatever that's causing the anxiety to support so that she won't feel anxious for the activity or the event that's coming up. Yeah, so talk to your child, and I like what Jacinth said just now. Build that trust. Once your child trusts you, he or she is more likely to share with you what works for him and what doesn't. I always, because I built that trust in my child, I'm able to ask her what exactly works for you, what is actually troubling you. Tell me so that I can support you better. Yeah. So I hope that answers your questions. It's a really big topic, and I feel that it's something that you need to explore with the psychologists or the doctors and see how you can bring it to school so that you can help your child transition better. But a very good question though, because anxiety can come in many forms, and going to school can be one really big hurdle for a child who's highly anxious to deal with it.
We have a question from Jacqueline Ong. It seems that recess and lunch break for students are very short, especially with SMM in place. More than half of the time is spent on queuing up to buy food. What are schools doing in this regard? I think I will share an example maybe from my school in Nanyang. Because of SMM, we actually practice staggered recess. So instead of two levels going for recess together, it now becomes one level going for recess. That really helps in terms of the queuing up for our children. They do have time to queue up. I think what they do not have time is maybe play. I think the children want to run around more than queuing up for food. And our teachers always need to remind them that you need to have your break, take a snack, or have something to eat. But queuing up time and all this, the children definitely do have enough time to queue up. So not to worry about that. Maybe Justine, Michelle, any views regarding this before I
Yeah,
move?
my son said his favorite period is recess. So because they have recess play once a week, and he really
Yes.
looks forward to that. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but I want to add on here is that if there is a certain food that your child wants to eat, but it's a long queue, this is a good opportunity to teach your kids to be adaptable, to let them know that sometimes things just don't go their way. Like they really want to eat the chicken rice, but there's like 6 people queuing up and there's not much time. So this is good training for kids to learn that, okay, I don't have chicken rice. What do I do? Do I, cry? Or can I put on my thinking cap and say, okay, maybe I can eat something else today? I can try a new food. So this encourages kids to step out of their comfort zone. And notice that when I'm saying this, the parents are not beside the kids. So it's very difficult, right, for the child to make that kind of decision on their own, which means we have to teach them at home. You have to encourage the kids, be adaptable. What can you do to be adaptable? Give them actionable things to do. Like if there's no more chocolate ice cream, what else can you have? Or maybe a chocolate cookie or another flavored ice cream. Little skills like this, they're all building blocks to help your kids eventually know how to make this kind of decisions on their own without you. So don't neglect those little moments at home, the daily conversations, to encourage kids to be adaptable, to be resilient, and to think of solutions to solve the problems.
Thank you, Jacinth, for bringing up this point about encouraging our children to try and to be adaptable, because these are some of the skills that we are trying to build in our children. So besides just subject areas, I think another area that we really want to grow is positive learning attitudes. And that's something that we want to grow and cultivate in our children in order to ensure that they find a joy in learning and become lifelong learners. And I always share that there are 4 Bs that we can create for our children. Opportunities for our children to be curious. That's 1 B that we can create for our children. 2, be willing to try, like what Jacine has mentioned. 3, be able to concentrate and stay focused on tasks. And the 4th B is be able to follow simple routines and instruction. The 4 Bs that we want to start, especially with our P1s. And this is one area that maybe parents can try out. Michelle, any point to add?
No.
Okay, and then there's a question from Teng Lee. How do I set a new timetable for my kid as he's entering this new primary 1 journey? A new timetable.
Does she mean timetable like after school? After school timetable, possibly?
Sounds like it.
It can be
Yep.
routines, maybe.
Okay, routines. Yeah. So definitely involve your child to set the timetable, because that will increase the ownership and there's a higher chance that the child will follow through. So go through with your kids. Maybe the first step is to brainstorm all the things that your child has to do. What I did with my kids was to list down their responsibilities. So responsibility as a student, responsibility as a child, responsibility as a brother, stuff like that. So I got him to write down what are your responsibilities as a student. You have to do your homework. You have to pack your school bag, get ready for the next day. You have to complete any task that your teacher assigned to you. What are your responsibilities as a child? You have to take care of your own belongings. You have to shower. You have to bring your clothes to the basket. So list down the stuff that the child needs to do, and then get the child to arrange it into like a schedule or a timetable. It doesn't have to be by the minute. I would say give blocks of time so that the child don't feel so stressed and you don't feel so stressed as well.
Yes.
So maybe like an hour block kind of thing, or 2 hours block. So in these 2 hours, you want to hand the responsibility to your child. Okay, in these 2 hours, you have to fulfill your responsibility as a student. Okay, let the child decide the sequence and order of events that he or she wants to do. The idea here is to trust the child. If you want to micromanage and tell the child, okay, this time you do your SLS, then you learn your Chinese spelling, then you do this homework, they feel that they are very controlled, and nobody likes to be controlled. So you make the big decision. Okay, these 2 hours is school, your responsibility as a student. You let them decide what they want to do. And if they cannot manage it, don't panic. There's no need to nag at them or yell at them or blame them. Let them know that, oh, I think you're having some difficulties. Let's work together. Let's see if we can come up with a better schedule to help you. Yep. So this is really, really important for the child to take ownership, even in terms of like packing his school bag. Please do not pack the school bag for your kids. If not, when they go to school, they won't even know which book the teacher is referring to. The teacher say take out your math textbook, and they take out their English book because they were not the ones packing it. So let your kids pack their own bags every day. At the beginning, you definitely have to handhold them. Don't think that you teach them for one session and they should be able to know it. I would say handhold them for a week or two, then watch them do it, and don't try to correct them. A lot of times when they make a mistake, no, why are you bringing that to school? You don't need that today. Now hold it back. Sometimes you want to let them experience the natural consequences, that maybe if they forget to bring their music book to school, the stakes are really low at this age. They're not like an adult. So let the child experience the natural consequence of the teacher telling them that, oh, you didn't bring your book, what you should do, or let the child see that, oh, I'm the only one without the music book. Sometimes life is the best teacher for the kids to learn what they need or not do. So yeah, let the kids pack their own bags. And in fact, you can let them label their own books as well. I think that'll be quite interesting. So I bought like the label stickers with some cartoon, and he gets to choose which cartoon goes to which subject books. Yeah, and it really, really helps the child to train them to be responsible and independent. So you don't have to keep nagging at your kids.
We have one last question from Joanna Pang. Is it a must for the kid to have the basic foundation before P1? As I noticed, preschool education is not a must. Any Jacinth or Michelle, would you want to share your thoughts regarding this?
I think what we mentioned just now is actually important, that the child or your child actually has learn some of the social communication skills, be able to regulate emotions, and to have some school readiness skills. So if the child has not received, so am I reading it wrong? They should have some of these basic skills required, and you want to encourage development of such skills, like what we mentioned in the whole 1 hour just now, following instructions, following staying at seat, following timetable, following how to organize his time, space, and his table, and taking things out, some money skills. So some of these basic skills are more important than the literacy and numeracy skills. If you're talking about literacy and numeracy, they are actually a lot more important. Being able to seek help and request behaviors, those are really very critical to have, and to also harness, and also to get your child to be interested in books. So the rest of the things will come in once they are more prepared with some of these skills. Yeah, so don't worry too much about the academic demands. Not yet. They really have some time to prepare for this. Yeah.
Jacinth, any thoughts?
I agree about definitely the social skills. So the academic skills will come in when the kids enjoy learning. So if you teach the kids everything they need to know, and when they go to school, like Madam Le said, they'll be bored. And it's really true. You start to observe kids playing with their pencil, disturbing the other children. So there is no need to over prepare your kids. I completely understand how some of you, in the Asian culture, we're a little bit more kiasu in that sense, right? We want to prepare our kids, but really, how much can you prep your kids? Sometimes it's more important for them to learn. And yeah, I think that it is important to emphasize on the right values now, which is getting them to be resilient, to be honest, responsible, being independent. Yeah, so the academic part will come later when all these are settled.
Thank you, Jacinth. Before we conclude, I would like to share this comment from a parent, Joanne Tan. Joanne Tan mentioned that our child needs to know that they are not alone in this transition to P1. They need to know that daddy and mommy are with them in managing the changes. I hope that you and your child have found today's sharing useful. In concluding this session, I would like to encourage all our parents to hold on to 3 beliefs, echoing what Joanne Tan actually mentioned. And the first belief is believe in yourself. Parents, you have been journeying with your child. Believe that with the understanding of your child and with you journeying with them, you would have sufficiently prepared your child for primary school. The second belief is believe in your child. Believe that your child can and will take on this challenge of transitioning to primary school confidently and to the best of his or her ability. Over time, your child will ease into primary school life, even though they may face initial challenges. The third belief is believe in your child's teachers and support them. I've been sharing this with the parents in my school. It takes a big heart to help shape little minds. And our teachers work tirelessly to love, care, and inspire young minds like your child. So believe that your child's teachers will be journeying with your child step by step. And when you support the teachers and most importantly, respect them, your child will respect them as well. And that is when they will embrace their experience and learning in school and benefit the most as well. On behalf of Jacinth and Michelle, thank you, parents, for being with us this evening. Have an enjoyable holiday with your children. Good night.
Good
Bye
night.
bye.